What is up, guys? Giaquinto here, bringing you my first ever Overwatch hero tutorial guide today, featuring the attacker known as Pharah Amari, better known to some of you as the daughter of Ana Amari, who is another hero in Overwatch. Now, before we get into any actual gameplay featuring Pharah walking through everything, we're going to take a look at her abilities that are featured, because I want this guide to be both beneficial to new players and players who have their feet wet. Now, with that being said, we have three abilities. We have our weapon, and then we have our ultimate. Featuring weapon is going to be the rocket launcher. Now, the rocket launcher is really beneficial when flying, hovering over the enemy's head, and shooting down with these AoE consecutive blasts. Her first ability is the jump jet, which obviously you use that to gain distance and elevation above your enemy. The concussive blast, which you can use in multiple ways, which we're going to look at. And then obviously the hover jets, which when combined with the jump jet, this will make you float in the air, and as of recently, in a past patch, this was buffed, so that's really, really nice. And then finally, we have a barrage, which casts down a volley of rockets, which is really, really nice, and we're also going to get into how to use that. So now, let's take a look at Pharah herself. So really quick for the beginners in Training Ground, for the next minute, we're going to take a look at Pharah's basic abilities and her controls. Now, the first ability being featured here is the jump jet, which sets Pharah in the air at her max point, her max elevation. You can combine this with hovering, which uses fuel as seen above my weapon here. You basically want to combine the two and then jump jet once that goes off cooldown. This will keep you in the air for an unlimited amount of time if you do it right. Next up, we have the concussive blast, which you can shoot by going near buildings, or you can shoot it while you're near the ground by aiming your rocket at the ground, and this will knock you back when you're near attacking enemies. As far as her rocket launcher here, as you can see, you can directly hit enemies, but I recommend when starting off with her, shooting the ground for consistent damage, and then getting better at that later on. Next up, we have the concussive blast when used against enemies to knock them off the map. You want to practice the angles in the training ground, get better with it, and then later on take her into maps and learn the different knockoff points. It's really, really convenient. Alright, now we're going to jump ahead a few gears and we're going to take Pharah into a competitive match. In this next, I think, 5 or 6 minute clip, I'm going to feature myself playing Pharah in a competitive setting to where we're playing a tight map and we need to wall break the enemy team and obviously capture the point to then push the payload. And I'm going to show you this entire process. This is going to be, hopefully, beneficial to new players and players who have never played her before, and it might even reach out to those of you who are currently learning and or play a decent amount of Pharah. So let's take a look at that now. So we're going to jump straight in the action here. We're going to take a look at the competitive combo game mode, which is the capture point combined with the payload push. Now immediately, your first priority as Pharah when wall breaking is to take care of all things long range. These are your priorities. Number 1 being Soldier 76. Number 2, in my opinion, I would say is Zenyatta with the Discord. Number 3 is McCree. Number 4, I would say it's a tie between the Hanzo and the Torb turrets. I mean, at the end of the day, they're all priorities. You know, McCree, these are all priorities that you need to take care of because they can pick you off over anything else. Then you're going to want to help your team take care of the tanks and obviously the healers. If you feel as though these long-range players aren't posing a threat to you, if they aren't accurate, maybe you can try and dwell in on the healers and focus some healers, try and kill, you know, that increase on the enemy health, and then focus on those things. But you need to, again, take care of all your threats and then focus on helping your team get in. Now, I immediately have a barrage. I got a barrage really early, which I was really fortunate to do this. And what am I going to do with this? How do you use the rocket barrage? You want to go around, you want to communicate with your team. If you're not playing with the team, you know, use the in tab features. My ultimate is ready. Let them know that you're ready to set up. You know, you might have Zarya on your team, you might have a Mai on your team, you might have a Reinhardt, things that can stun the enemy or set them in place so you can flank around behind enemy lines and then proceed to barrage the enemy. If done right, you will benefit and you will probably kill the whole team. You'll kill 4, you'll kill 5, but you want to focus the healers first. The start of your barrage wants to go towards the Mercy that can res, or the Zenyatta that can ult, or the Lucio that can armor, you know, barrier buff. Keep that in mind. Now I can tell you guys with this next upcoming ult, it wasn't fully successful. I tried to get the most out of it and combine with Hanzo. I knew that he would shoot in one direction. While they were focusing on that, I tried to flank around and get an ult off. You're not always going to hit, and I really wanted to show that just because I want to show you how it's hit or miss. Obviously, when you can, you're going to want to combine with your teammates. That being a choke point, if you can take off the healers, you know, the things that are going to keep the enemy team alive, you only pick off 1 or 2, that's okay. As you can see here, we're actually able to get the payload around off the choke, but obviously the enemy team is overextending. The enemy team's overextending, and obviously we're going to rally up here and we're going to try and push forward. They are really aggressive. This is something you don't want to do. And if you're Pharah and you're playing against a team that is overextending, you more or less just want to get behind them and pick off the weak ones. Here I pick off Mercy, and then I'm going to go back inside and get with my team to try and get back on this payload. So while the enemy team is making the mistake of overextending, I'm just trying to get out, you know. I'm obviously running circles trying to get away. I'm trying to avoid the tanks because the tanks are threats, and if you're not with your team, chances are you're going to die. If you die on a payload match, you're going to have to respawn and you're going to have to take that long walk, and that's always demoralizing. So I'm able to get back with my team here. We're able to pick up 2 picks, which is really convenient because one of those is obviously the debuff healer, which if played right can really be threatening, you know, especially for a Pharah, for a tank, you know, things that will die immediately if the DPS is also there. So now, I mean, we're more or less at the end here, and I have another ult. This one I'm going to try and get right. I noticed on King's Row, you know, something I like to do if I'm not caught, I like to fly up here and then stand on this platform, maybe get pocketed by a Mercy from above or on the side or below from the back, and then at the right time, once the distraction is there, I will then try and cast my ultimate down on the enemy team. So here I'm not going to do that just because there's 2 tanks and I feel like it's not going to be worth it. You know, my team is dying. I wouldn't say we're in the best position just yet. So I shoot back by shooting my concussive at the floor, and then I'm trying to get as many picks as I can. I'm trying to wrap this up because, you know, we're right at the end. Don't always hold on to your ultimate. You know, if you can pick off squishies with your ultimate, you know, 2 or 3, that's really beneficial for your team because then your entire team can then focus on the big guys as a unit. You know, you're not the only one with an ultimate ability. So again, don't be afraid to use that early when you're right at the end of a payload push. So this is more or less the final push from us and the final stand from the enemy team. We're able to take out D.Va and Ana in the last minute here and seal that up as a full unit. And obviously coming up here we have the end of the match and we have to play the game, which I was fortunate to get thanks to comboing with the Zarya on our team, which is one of my friends. So the communication was there. I let her know that I had my ult. I showed you guys how you can ult wrong, how you can ult good enough, or, you know, just do enough to push past certain points. Now this is doing things right. May not be absolutely perfect, but again, you know, getting the most out of an ult by comboing. So I let her know. She shot down her ultimate, which is the Graviton Surge, and then I flanked around and shot my barrage down. That is the best way, hands down, of using the Pharah ult. You just have to be mindful of who's watching you, so keep that in mind. Now that we've pretty much looked at how to play Pharah in a competitive setting, let's focus on some of the little things to close the video out. Now, the first of those being the concussive blast when you're being pursued by enemies. This is really convenient and it's really beneficial to you because, again, when playing Overwatch, especially in competitive, you want to stay alive as long as possible. So you're going to have those moments where you're doing things to try and benefit your team, and then next thing you know, you're put in a bad situation to where you're being pursued by someone who on a ground level or on a close level, you don't stand a chance. That's where the concussive blast is really convenient. You might get really nervous like I am here, shooting around rockets like crazy, but by shooting the concussive blast, I'm able to knock him on a corner and get back to my healer, and then try and pursue him together as a unit. Luckily, Reinhardt comes back, and we're able to get the pick. So now we're going to keep the same clip rolling because I kid you not, 40 seconds later the same Roadhog comes back as I'm trying to flank around and ult on the enemy team. This is going to be another example of how to use the concussive blast when you're put in this situation. I have Mercy with me and we're pulling off the Pharah Mercy combo. So I feel confident I'm going to harass him a little bit, but I'm going to keep that rail as separation between him and the hook. I see I can't win, so I use the concussive blast to knock him against the wall and bail out. I then get with my team, and Trace is able to wrap that up for me. Alright, so before we close things out, we're going to take a look at situations to where we are using our ult in the right way. Now, you guys have seen combining as an example, and I'm going to show you a little more of that, but I'm also going to show you how to flank around the enemy team by learning the map and ulting on your own. There's going to be moments to where you won't have things to combo with, so you're going to have to rely on your own skill and intuition on when and where to place your barrages. So let's look at that now. So now, starting with the first 2 of the 4 clips, we're going to take a look at collabing with teammates. We're going to feature Mercy here first, and we're going to look at the damage buff barrage, which is my favorite way of doing this. Sneaking behind enemy lines together as an obvious, it could be pretty obvious when you two are floating around, but being able to flank, get in front, above, or behind, and then cast down that damage buff ult is just really rewarding. So shoutouts to my Mercy Alice Little here. And then on Watchpoint Gibraltar, we're going to take a look at flanking, staying in position. Okay, so here I shoot a little bit. I can see that, it's not going to look good for me if I go down there with, obviously, Harambe going off the walls. So I say barrage ready, I let my teammate know this is someone that we're not playing with, and I'm more or less just going to wait. I'm going to wait for him to get in position. I'm going to peek just to see where everyone is set up, just because there's really no one for me to communicate that with. Hey, where are they? Where are they positioned? I could see that my team isn't necessarily there just yet. They're pulling up now. So I say to myself, thank you for the heals, Anna. Let's do it. Zarya casts down her ult. I'm able to get the quintuple, and then we're able to wrap things up here on the Harambe and get the team kill. So that was pretty cool. Finally, we have the last 2 clips here in the video that feature Pharah going off and ulting on her own with no combo. Now, this isn't so much about mastering her first and then attempting this. Learn the maps. Learn the maps, and anyone can do this. Now, I know they're focused on the front door here, and I'm going to go around just because my team has their attention, and I'm going to flank and above ult overhead, and I kill 5 here. Basically everyone that is there, and we're able to get in and cap that point, which was really nice. And then finally, in this last clip on Dorado, I mean, I just I just know what's going to end up happening. I go through this little gap, and again, this is just mucking around on these maps, and I'm going to fly around and just cast down on them, and I'm able to get 4 of that last one through that little window there. It may have been 5. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is the Pharah guide featuring myself, Giaquinto. If you guys have any questions, any curiosity about anything, feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you want to add to the video, add tips, feel free to do so, but go out and learn these maps. There's so many things that you can learn to make the big plays, because Pharah's ult specifically, and that's why it was the focus of the video, can really change games. Flank around, learn the maps, go on the training ground, mess around with your friends in private match, and I promise you, you'll master Pharah in no time. This has been Gia. Have a good weekend, have a good night, and thanks for watching the video. Cheers.